Welcome back. This is still the Polity reaching you live from Abuja. Now, on the day that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal delivered its judgment, it was also an interesting day for President Bola Tinubu, other than the fact that he ended up having his presidency and his victory in the February 25th polls being affirmed by that court. It also coincided with his 100 days in office. It kind of got swept under the attention that the PEPT judgment got. But today we'll be delving a little into President Tinubu's 100 days in office. We'll also be taking a look at issues affecting agriculture, which is one of the promises the president made, or one of the areas he promised to address within a certain amount of time during his tenure. We'll also be taking a look at SMEs, how businesses are thriving and trying to survive with the removal of fuel subsidy and rise in cost. This and many more we'll be discussing today broadly under the topic of the state of the nation. I've been joined in the studio now by Comrade Aliyu, Audu, Shuaib. He joins me now to do some justice to the matter. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with that 100 days in office. Okay. Because of the judgment that day, which a lot of people believed would round up sometime just before afternoon or early afternoon, but it ended up rounding up around about 9 p.m. at night. Yeah. Interestingly, this is the first Presidential Election Petition Tribunal after the amended Electoral Act, and so perhaps we saw the aftermath or the effect of that. So that being said, it's the 100 days in office got swept under the rug. So let's talk about that. 100 days of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a new president with his renewed hope agenda. Yeah. What are your thoughts so far? Where has he done well? Where has he not done up to expectations? And what are your recommendations?
Yeah, thank you for this gesture. As we rightly talked about the election petition last week, which coincide with the 100 days of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office. Yeah, it's a wonder. There are a lot of things. We have some progress, and then we have some challenges, which are normally in any administration. You don't expect everything to go at once. It is a gradual process. Mind you, he is just working on a budget, which he is not the one that presented it. And then coincide with the economic challenges and the fall in Naira and other exchange rate in the country, which now, in the first stage now, he has streamlined all the issue of the Forex and then make it under one window so that it will be easy for everyone. Before we have different windows for getting Forex, which some are shortchanged in that aspect. So to me, this very first thing is a well-achieved project, and with time, we are going to meet up with challenges. It's just like a river. When its line, the water stream is blocked. When it comes, it will deviate from other things. Before you bring it to the normal trend, it will take you a while. So we are just giving him some benefit of doubt for the first time, for us to see after the presentation of his first budget and the second quarter of his administration, how will it go? It will be very wrong for us to start saying, no, this is what is happening. 100 days is just like 1 hour in this our present world. So for me, achievement has been done in the aspect of the Forex, and then he is putting some technical teams on ground to see how he can bring up all other aspects that we have been having challenges to board. And then, mind you, some boards and parastatals are not even established up till now. So you cannot rate the performance until all the cabinet are set, all the board are set. Then we give him at least 6 months to see whether these people will perform or not. But
isn't that a negative on his part? Why are these boards not set up? Is he not the one to blame for that?
Yeah, on the one way, I don't know whether he don't want to be on rush to to do some things because he may like to put the right peg in the right hole. So in the past administration, we see whereby some people came with confidence and morale, but unfortunately, along the way, it was not what is expected by them. So now I think he's learning from those past experience to see how he can put the round peg in the round hole. So
but he did promise to hit the ground running. Would you say he has been able to do that? Or
yeah.
You know, the president before him, he had a name that some persons called him that he even heard about, and I believe he addressed it once or twice. He was called Baba Go Slow, you know, at that time, you know, because he did everything slowly but surely, and he felt, you know, there's no rush because I have good plans for the people. But President Tinubu, I remember in his now famous interview, when he was asked, he says, I will hit the ground running. And when he's asked, and then what? He says, keep running, you know. So do you think he has fulfilled that promise, so to speak, of going full force, especially with the late appointments we are seeing? Does it strike you as someone who was prepared?
Yeah, it shows a little, it shows his competency and then the zeal to deliver. Like you said, before the 100 days, the ministers have now been in their office. They have all been appointed, isn't it? Given their portfolios. So just rate it. In 4 years, when you remove 100 days, it's just like 3% of what it is expected. And for me, he has done 1% out of the 3% for the first 100 days. So we expect to improve in the next thing. And he has shown some certain this thing like the economic reform and the revenue team that he constituted, that they should go on and see how they will remodel the revenue and the tax reform, the tax reform committee that he has been set to do all these things, and also other military aspect that he has touched into. And then talking about the subsidy, how can he ease the activities, and then releasing some funds to the state government, which is not done in the past administration as when due. Even during the COVID, we have some challenges before those these things have been released, even though they did it the way it was expected, but it couldn't come in time at the when needed. But this palliative now, he rolled out that, I think, 5 billion to the state governors, and he has assigned some amount of tons of grains to every state, which it is a good start. It is now left for the governors and the chairman of the local government and the senators to follow it up and make sure the right thing has been done, because on his own part, he has done his own. So it's for them to compliment on his effort and make it work. And then, mind you, government alone is not about one person. He is just a one. The issue we are having, to my own understanding, in Nigeria is we only take the power to the center. Whereas the federal government is just there to share the allocation based on what is being agreed to be given to each state at the end of it.
Are you advocating for restructuring or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I am an advocate of that. And then the state governors has a vital role to play, because the federal government has no any piece of land in other states. When he is having a project to implement in a state, he needs to liaise with the state governor, then the local government chairman. So these governors are the people that will drive the development and then everything to the grassroots, because they are with the people, they are with the masses. The federal government is just holding the horn, and whereas they are at the ground, briefing him on how to do this, how to do that, and how to implement it. No matter how he tried to work, if that synergy between him and the National Assembly and the state government governors is not there, we will not see any development. But for me, on his own part, he has made a little progress as a human being. We cannot expect 100% everything from him, but we need, he has done a little, and we pray for him to improve, which is, I think, is a fair thing for everyone that sees things in the holistically.
Yeah, well, his success translates to the success of Nigerians, so to speak. So I believe everyone expects good things. But let's talk about the persons he has surrounded himself with. You spoke about him being able to get these people square pegs and square holes and round pegs and round holes. In your opinion, how would you rate the persons he has appointed from ministers and so on? Do you see these people being able or capable of carrying out his renewed hope agenda?
Yeah, I think before he appoint them, he may have some certain discussion or some certain understanding from them, and he believes they can deliver. And then what we expect from him is supervision. In any government, if there is no proper monitoring and supervision, it will not work. Like the past administration, he brought the people that we expect to perform, but lack of supervision made them to underperform for some times. By the time he realized, it has been a hectic thing to be reconciled about. So, and then my observation is there are two different ways. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a grassroots politician. He's a politician to the core. He knows the nitty-gritty of all the politicians. While the past administrator, President Muhammad Buhari, he's a military man, and he's a man that only believes as he's just like a coach. Buhari is like a coach. He will just coach you behind and then give you everything he expects result from you. But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a coach and also a coach player, to my understanding. I look at some of his activities in Lagos. He groomed them, he checkmate them. He has his own way to checkmating his this thing, cabinet and other things. And he must have some technical and then serious advisors that are ready to work for him. So I expect as him a coach and also a coach player, he may be in the field when he sees the players are not performing to his expectation. He can hire and fire. Whereas President Muhammad Buhari is just a coach alone. He just directs you, give you whatever you want, and he believes whatever you do, if you do it right, it's yours. If you didn't do it, it's your own credit.
So President Tinubu's strategy, you feel it will yield more results?
Yeah, I feel it will yield more results, because as a coach and a coach player, you know how to defend, how to attack, and how to even strike sometimes. So he's once time a senator. That makes him to know about the legislature very well. His wife too, she's a legislator. She knows the nitty-gritty of everything there. But the present chief of staff to him, he's also a lawmaker and a barrister who knows the intrigues of law and everything. So his vice president, Kashim Shettima, also he's a banker and agri-economics in that aspect, and also a commissioner at the state. He holds 4 or 5 ministries, if I am not forgetting. I know him as the Commissioner of Finance, Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Health, Education. I think it is only even Agri. I think he serves as a Commissioner of Agri. So with his experience for these 5 sectors, who are the major key to drive any economy in any state, when you get finance, you get education, health, agri, they are the major places where things are being done, and local government. So these 5 places that he holds, I believe, as the head of the economic team, he will know how to reach the grassroots and perfectly implement the policies of the renewed hope they are playing. So come again, he is a governor. He served as a governor for 8 years. Likewise, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu too is a governor for 8 years. He now came as a senator Vice President Kashim Shettima came as a senator for 4 years, I think. Yes, from 2019 to 2023. Yeah, he was a senator before he became the vice president. When you put all these things, you see the main kitchen cabinet, if I will call it, his main kitchen cabinet are people that knows about everything. So the expectation from Nigeria will be high, and we don't expect a failure from them because they don't have any reason to tell us anything. If it comes to the law, they know the law. If it comes to the administration, they have held some states in the local government and state house of assembly. So everything that they are to do is, they are not new people to that thing. It's just for them to just put things and allow the ball to start to roll itself. That's why I think he say he will hit the ground running. He already have those zeals and the experience, so he doesn't need much time to do other things. He has know where the problem are. It's just for him to hit the ground, as he said, and continue running the way it is. And we pray he lands safe.
All right, that's fair enough. So let's quickly speak on, I just want to get your thoughts on reaction very quickly to the PEPT judgment. You were here on Wednesday, I believe, and you gave your thoughts and your analysis. At the time, the judgment wasn't completely read, so we didn't know then that the president's victory would be affirmed by the court, and the cases of former Vice President Atiku and former Governor Peter Obi would be dismissed. But that has happened now. Both candidates have indicated their readiness to head to the Supreme Court to challenge that decision and that judgment. I'd like to get your thoughts now. Did all this go as you expected, or were you surprised by any of the resolutions the court made on the 25%, on the direct transmission, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, if you get me right, on that day you asked similar question about them proceeding to Supreme Court. They are citizens of Nigeria, and they are at the liberty to seek for redress if they are not satisfied with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, of the tribunal. So, and before the verdict, we did a little analysis with you here, whereby based on the things we saw in their final written address, they assert many things which they couldn't prove it. It was on that basis most of the cases were strike out. So let's wait. Since they have intent to move to the Supreme Court, then let's see what the Supreme Court will do. Because we may think the tribunal did right, and then when it reached the Supreme Court, they may examine everything, and then something else will come out. But if the tribunal did the best thing and the right thing, so I don't think it's necessary for them to go there. But as citizens of Nigeria, they are at the liberty to pursue their destiny lawfully under the Constitution.
All right. While President Tinubu's victory was affirmed, we're also seeing that other candidates, House of Reps, senators, had their seats. They were sacked, by the courts. What do you make of this, going into the future? Because when these things happen, nothing really goes into INEC or thereabout. What the court says is, okay, this is the real winner. We hereby declare them. But do you think at some point there should be some sort of recompense as regards INEC that maybe they didn't do the job well? Or do you think it's just a matter of, okay, INEC was not a participant, they probably were just swindled by the people who won?
Yeah, what I see there is those that win or obtain the judgment in the tribunal there, like Natasha, she asserted many things and she was able to prove it. That was why she was returned as the proper elected person. And then to me, mostly the issue lies on INEC, because INEC has the ad hoc staffs, they has the returning officers, they has the presiding officers. So no any manipulation will be made without the prior knowledge of those ad hoc staffs. So it is left for a candidate, after seeing that he has been shortchanged or he has been rigged out of some polling unit, to gather his fact and then take it there. And the court, when they see it and he prove this is what happened, the INEC will be called. They will bring all the necessary document. If it is checked, then he can collect his victory back. So that is what I see transpired in some of the state. In some states, there are issues of forgery. And then in some states, there are issues of lack of proper primaries that makes them to lose the election. A candidate within the party sue his candidate that his primary is not properly conducted. And when they reach the tribunal saw that the process that brought him as a candidate was illegal. They now obtained the victory and gave it to the right owner, because it is cleared in the constitution, if a primary is not properly done, the candidate is liable to lose his seat. And then if you have an issue of certificate forgery or something like that, you are about to lose your this thing. And then if your opponent challenge your victory on basis that he feel that he was rigged, and he was able to prove that this is how I was rigged, and the court is satisfied with it, definitely that person who must lose the seat. So I think this is what I see. Our democracy is now growing, but we still have so many challenges to fine-tune and then look at it holistically before making some laws. Like you rightly says, the issue of lack of transmission, the INEC was saying that no, they use a model auxiliary there. As an English student, we use that in a probability or a model auxiliary. The INEC may wish to transmit it directly, manually, or using the electronic way. So it is not clearly split out in the Electoral Act.
It was up to them to decide.
Yes, it was up to them. That is the probability. They may do, they may not. So, but if the law says INEC must transmit this electronically, and they went and transmit it manually, so they have erred.
All right, you know, I guess this is outside the realm of legal jurisprudence, so to speak. The law says one thing, but in terms of execution, we know that INEC said that they would do it the way they did not do it. They said repeatedly that there will be electronic transmission. But I guess, like you've pointed out, the law cannot hold them, because all they did was say they would do it. So it might have led to a lack of trust from Nigerians, because when you repeatedly tell Nigerians that no matter what happens, we will transmit electronically, and then you don't transmit electronically, they're not going to trust you as much as they might have if you kept to your word. And then after not keeping to your word, when you say, well, the law says I can do what I want, people start to look at you with what some people call in
double standard.
Yes, or what
or two-face,
or the local term that the young ones call it now on TikTok and so on. They look at you with this bombastic side eye. But anyway, let's we'll open our call lines now, so you can call in to make your contributions and ask your questions. The Polity is live and is reaching you from Abuja across the nation. So let's delve now into some specific issues. And like I said before we started, the issue of agriculture and what really the sector is going through, or what is looking like at the moment, and the way it should be, and also the issue of SMEs. You know, somehow we could say the lifeblood of a lot of nations are these small and medium scale enterprises. They're almost everywhere, providing services to the vast majority of Nigerians. But let's start with agriculture.
Okay.
The president has an agenda, the Renewed Hope agenda, There's a Minister for Agriculture now, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get your thoughts as someone who is in the field. What is really going on within the sector now, and how do you think we can get to where we ought to be? What are the challenges at the moment?
Yeah, the challenges are enormous. We cannot finish them in a day, but we have to start somewhere. Based on our findings, we involved many farmers, like the National Councils for Local Government Department of Agriculture, other cooperative in the rural areas. At the end, we understand that the input, their challenge is how to get access to affordable and how to get access to affordable and quality agricultural input from the government is the major challenge. And then how can we move forward from a man with the hoe to the modernized way of farming? People have gone far in other countries, but still, we still believe in the hoe, farming with the hoe. A man with the hoe, I don't think he can even feed himself properly, talk less of feeding the nation. So we have to create a way that their system and way of farming will be improved by making them to understand government alone cannot do that. If I can recall, there are some movement we did, which I spearheaded on how to get them close and find a possible lasting solution to the problem. What I understand is some of them do usually have the mind to farm, but the insecurity make it impossible for them to get what they are. So some now revive home to see where they can fix themselves. And then others, they have the means, but they don't have that capacity to implement it. They only need some capacity building to actualize the target result they want. They have the technical know-how, but how to implement it is giving them some challenges. So we now start with them now. We took the data. We make them to understand that first, government alone cannot do that. Government can only subsidize the issue of fertilizers, chemicals, and the rest. So you people don't rely alone on the government. We know it is his responsibility as a nation to provide all these things to his citizens. But there are some certain stages whereby your economy is not that buoyant and you can assist your government as a part of your contribution. We call it equity contribution farming. That equity contribution, you bring some of your demand to the government, you contribute, the government came in between it, will come in between it, and then either he give you an incentive or he gave you an indemnity to stand to you or subsidize the product for you. So after going through this all, we realized that there is a lot of communication gap between the government and the farmers. The farmers lost confidence in the government. And then the government too is not going to the real farmers. When a program is rolled out for farmers, usually the real peasants farmers didn't always get access to that funds to improve their farming cultivation in their locality. So what we are expecting from the government now is for him to go back and sit down and see how he can bridge this gap, the link between the rural farmers and then the cooperative in collaboration with some state government and the local government. Because no matter how money is injected into the farming system, if the real farmer couldn't get access to that fund, still we will still have that famine, and then we will still have that short of food in our nation. And then from the other side, we ourselves supposed to develop an attitude of growing some little crops on our own. We don't need to go back to the olden days way that I must go to the so village before I farm. Today there are some species and variety of seeds that you will use just 50 square meters to produce, and it will give you something of almost 1 hectare, because the way you plant it and the way it is being properly it is just a modernized way. Before you use 3 or 2 centimeter to farm something, to put a seed, but now in 1 feet you can use it and use a stick to roll it up. Instead of it rolling down, it will go up, and easily you are distancing it from some pests and other things, and then you will get the result that you may not get in even 1 hectare in just an 50 by 50 square meters. So what we see now is that trust has been deviated. We are calling on the government to see how he can gap those things. The farmers have lost the confidence at the grassroots. The past administration, if I am not mistaken, one day I heard that they spent almost 990 something trillion in agriculture within the 8 years.
As that amount,
sorry, billion. Sorry.
Have you seen the effect of that amount on the sector?
No. That was make us to go into background checkup and see where the fault comes. What we realized, yes, the money is actually released, but it was not released to the real farmers. It was not released to the real farmers. Some collected the money and used it in other way. Some collected the money and went and import food to the country. This is what led to the high price in the food that we are using. It's just what happened is we are almost 200 million. A fund was released for at least 25 million farmers. Then in these 25 million farmers, it is only 1 million farmers that farm real farming. The other 24 million people went to farm, went to the market and buy together with those people. And the money was released for 25 million farmers. So how can we accommodate that? How can we cope with that?
So the process was hijacked by people who are not, are they not real farmers, or they are farmers who are not on the ground? What do you mean?
They are farmers which are not on the ground, based on our research and then findings.
Let's come back to this. Before we go deeper into this and your background checks and all that, you've been speaking about modernization, you know, making the process more mechanized and so on and so forth. Do you think that's the way forward? You know, I've spoken with some other farmers and they say that Nigeria's interest or Nigeria's zeal to want to attempt to modernize things is actually a step backward. That farmers on the ground need more than, you know, quote unquote, fancy ways to do things. They just need that enabling environment, the security, and then they can move on. Take, for instance, the Minister of Digital Economy and Communications, Bosun Tijani. He spoke about delving into artificial intelligence, training Nigerians on that, and so on and so forth. And he got a little bit of backlash from some people online. They said, well, this is Nigeria, we're a third world country. Why are you considering artificial intelligence when there are people who can't read and write? In his defense, he is considering his own sector. He's not the one in charge of why people can't read or write. But something that also came up with the criticism was agriculture, that we are not focusing enough. So the question really is, do you think we should be looking towards sort of the Western way of doing things by modernizing things and using more fancy equipment, or there is the alternative where people say Asian countries make use of their manpower, you know, the number of persons they have, and they use it to grow? So do you think that's what we should be focusing on rather than mechanizing things?
Yeah, when we talk of mechanization, it's not really the fancy way. My understanding of mechanizing the agriculture is, for instance, now we can domesticate everything according to what we have. Nigerians are very talented people. You will be surprised when you go to a farm. A real farmer will tell you the time to sow this and the time to cultivate this and the time to weed it and the time to put fertilizer and then apply the chemical on it. And then sometimes he may even tell not necessarily you need that chemical to do that. It may be because of excessive water. There are some crops that did not need excess water. So some farmers usually use urea to make it, to bring it back. But it's how to reduce the content of the water in the plant is what the plant is needing, not necessarily a chemical. So what I mean by this modernization, there are many things that been done outside, like the Asian you are saying. They created some things with their local artisans. They invented it based on what they are doing, like the harrow and the rest. They will do it the way it will suit them and improve their hours in the farm and ease the energy. Like now you are using one hoe, then an innovation is being done to have a 3 sheet of hoe in the same way, which you will be pushing, weaving, and then so you have moved one step ahead of that. Not necessarily you must use a drone or something like that. No, in applying chemical or use some certain machine. Yes, if we want to progress, we need to actually give that thing proper attention and make some people understand that yes, they hold it. Particularly the peasants farmers are the one to even make that. They have that knowledge to modernize it themselves. They know because they have been seeing it out. And what they will give you, the result they will give you, those that are using the fancy equipment may not even get it if they are properly supported. What I understand here is support for them to improve. They have the knowledge already. It's just to have the proper support. So that fancy way of doing things is not the best thing for us now. The first thing now is how can we start from somewhere? We have been left behind. And people are saying we are still third world. No, we have the same brain. Go everywhere in the world. The best farmers you will see and the best people in the agriculture, agri-sector are Nigerians. So how can we be deteriorating and then degenerating ourselves as third world? We can make many things. We have people that can produce all these things and even sell it out to the country. What we are lacking is mentorship. In the olden days, we see that there are extension farmers, extension workers, sorry. Those extension workers, they have the necessary, they have the proper knowledge of the area you are. Before the government will give you a loan, they have to be consulted and they will be on the field. So what brought about the mechanization? If those people are there, they have their plans to mechanize it. Like in one of our fora, we discussed with one of a colleague. We don't even need fuel to water our irrigation, to do our irrigation. With just 80,000 naira, you will do something that you will just be there in the farm. After fixing it with a pump, you wind it, the wind and other things will make it to be pumping water to your farm, and you are there. Is it not modernization or mechanization? It was done here in Kaduna by a local farmer. He didn't even need fuel. He didn't need any gas or something like that. He just do the thing. When I saw the equipment, I was so surprised. As a local farmer, he sit down and invent it. So this shows there are millions of them out. If properly financed, they will give us the modernization we need. Not that of our people that are talking on the social media, that mechanization and the rest. No. Before, he usually used 20 liters in a week of petrol. But when he invent this thing himself, he doesn't need that. He used 500 naira to go to the city and buy the fuel and come back. But now he doesn't need to go back to the city. Before, if the engine is breakdown, he took it to a mechanic to fix it to him. But now he has been doing it on his own. He will just go there in the morning, fix all his pipe, do the necessary thing, wind it for some minutes, then it will peak. Then it will be giving the water to the irrigating the distance, and he will be there just opening up the distance there. So when I went there, I quickly saw an advantage again, and I tell him that if this water will be given, will be pumped in so minute with this gravity like this, you can give it a drip, a direction. Not necessarily you will be following this, putting this hole here, blocking there, and punching here before it go. No, I say just pipe it, then look for just 2 meters or 1 meter distant pipe, 1 inch pipe, sorry. Then you drip it there. When it reaches there, you just open it and block the others. When this one is finished, you open there, and then it continues. He was surprised. You see, he did his own invention. I add a little to it to him. So this is what we mean by mechanization and modernization farming, not the way that other people are thinking.
Within the Nigerian context. All right, that's fair enough. So let's quickly speak about something else now. On the path to modernization and all that, what you described now sounds very similar to stories I've heard before. I've had Bretson Tedeke here. He's a farmer, an agripreneur, who has told me about how he has created a little ecosystem within his own farm, where basically everything you would get in his, like a small society, but within his farm. And he always harps on the fact that they had to do that themselves. And similarly, what you've described now, he did it himself. But there's something which is enshrined, I believe, in chapter 2 of the Constitution and other places. You basically, the government, so to speak, is responsible for your security.
Yeah.
That is one aspect that, as a citizen, you sort of relinquish to the government that, all right, I give my allegiance, I pay my taxes, I'll do all of this. In exchange, the government will provide me facilities and so on and so forth, and they will protect me. So when farmers are able to come up with these means of making their own farms work, of getting a profit, of surviving and thriving, when they are attacked, we're hearing a lot of stories. Just before we came on the program, we heard of how in some regions, particularly in northern states, that some attackers are actually now amputating, for lack of a better word, farmers. I heard one just before we came on air of a farmer who was lying, who was asleep in his farm, and suddenly he was surrounded by these, I don't know if to call them bandits or what's the word now. And they asked him, what are you doing here? And he said he was resting because, you know, he had worked on the farm, so he was resting and he would start again. And then, you know, they cut off his hand and he said, we'd like to see you come back to the farm. And we've been saying this a lot. Even people who end up in internally displaced persons camps, most of them had farms they were working on, but they, you know, out of fear, they can't return. And it's happening more and more. So in that aspect, do you think that, or how do you think the government can begin to help in this way? Because this is something that, except you are saying that citizens should now take matters into their own hands, which could even lead to more anarchy. We see a lot of reports that say farmer-header clashes, which is not particularly true, because the farmers are not clashing; they are just being victims, so to speak. But it is getting to the point where it's almost as though, are they expected to start fighting? Are they expected to start actual clashes? So that being said, what do you think the government should be doing to avoid the situation where a farmer feels that he has to use his hoe for something other than farming?
Yeah, if I get you right, You know, initially I said that it's not everything we will leave for the government. What I understand from what you said now, the common man has a role to play in the security, but he has lost confidence in some things. The issue of security is not for the government alone. As a good citizen, you have a role to play. We left it to deteriorate to that stage ourselves, where the lack of confidence between the security and the masses lost. What happened is, in a situation whereby you will see some vigilantes in the local government trying to protect their territory from the past, they do it well, and then eventually among them they will have some bad eggs which will go out and report it. They will go and sell out the information, or they will see something and report it to the security. So at the end of the day, within the security, we have what will I say, is just like a test from God. Some people, instead of them to serve the nation and then stand by the oath they took, they are those quick to get money syndrome, by thereby selling their integrity, dignity, and then even lives of their core brothers. So when these people started losing confidence with some of people within the security architecture in our country, that brings up all this issue. But I think if that thing will be reinvigorated, and then the full trust between the masses and the security and the government is revived, I think we will pass this stage. This fear has been there for long. Many may see something and they will just abandon it. It's not my duty to do that. But you didn't know who that person is going to hurt. Either you, your sister, your brother. But he will say, no, if I say that now, somebody within the community will go and tell the person that this is so person that says so. Before you know, he will come to he will be victimized by his core community members because he said the truth, or he reported an incident to the security within the community. They will do that to their fellow people. So thinking of the stepping they will get from those crooks that are perpetrating these things. So as time goes on, the community and the society will lose trust within ourselves. If we want those security to be back, we have to start it within ourselves. Let's trust each other. Let's agree not to sell out our core society member to just our selfish interest or something like that. And then the security should go back and awaken that trust between them and the community, so that they will be getting a proper intelligence report to tackle matters. If those people in the society will be secured and have the confidence that they will be protected, whatever information they give, I bet you within 1 year all these menace will be over. And by and large, it's not everything we just put on like this. We need prayers and actions. But first, we have to purify our mind first. No matter how tense prayers we will make, if our mind is not purified, we are not going anywhere. We are just deceiving ourselves. In a situation whereby we gather in a community and decided to take an action on something that will bring a relief to us, and then in the same society somebody will go out and sell it out to the person that does not supposed to hear the information, and he will go there and rearrange and come and attack. They will even, to an extent, they will even come and tell you that, didn't you know that we are together in this community with you? You say this at so time with so person in so place. You will be surprised. Then tomorrow when you see something like that, will you do that? So it's not any other person that is doing it. We are doing it to ourselves. Let's first purify our mind. Let's all agree that we want our country to work. Any other country that we see in the world that their security is moving, any other country has many challenges like we are having. It's just because ours is just out there. But other countries try to control it within the confines of the law and within the community. But some issues that is happening outside Nigeria in terms of security is beyond what we are thinking in Nigeria. So we, the community, first have to start within ourselves. Those society that we are not hearing their complaint about the security, they decide to hold their secret themselves, and they decide to they decided that they want their country to be secured in that way. So we too, if we want to attend such a thing, every hand must be on deck, and everyone must contribute his own quota. No any angel will come and do anything to us until we, the Nigerians, believe in ourselves that we can do that. Then it will happen. But apart from that, we should not expect anything. We are just deceiving ourselves.
Right, that's fair enough. I hope your advice and admonition is taken, to heart, like you said, in terms of purifying oneself. So let's quickly end on this note. You already hinted at, these programs being run by the government not reaching the farmers they are meant to reach. I'd like to end on, what you think is the cause for that. Is there some disconnect from the government and the real farmers? And if so, what do you think is the remedy?
Yeah, there is disconnect. That's why I say there is communication gap between the farmers and the government. And then with also the implementing partners, whichever, either a consultant or any agency that is interested to do that. The possible way forward is how to get the accurate data of the real farmers. Like now what we did after seeing this anchor borrowers, cassava issue and the rest. We now sit down within our foundation and other political movement. We decide that, so how can we get the data of the real farmers? As I am talking to you now, we have taken the data of 4.5 million real farmers, an average of 1,500 farmers from each local government, based on the crops and accessibility of the local government with the security challenges. We gave them some certain numbers of crops, including the women. There are some crops that the women are the one that's supposed to cultivate it. There are some crops that are being done by the men. So we match all of them. Some we gave the women 25%, some we gave them 50%, some we even gave them 75% of the activities. So we take the data based on that. In some local government, when we see the crops they are producing and the other vegetables and others, then we assign it what is the duration, how is the time, who are the perfect actors in that aspect. Is it men or female? Or if it is female, then we take the ratio in high. So what is the accessibility in that local government based on security, based on getting input and other things. So we now took all the data now with us. We took about 450 something local government, if I am not mistaken. And all of them, they are real farmers. Starting from their ward. We start from the ward. In a local government, some local government we have 15 wards, some we have 10, some we have 9, some we have 11, some we have 14. Then we will divide it into that ratio. Each ward will bring the members based on what they are cultivating in their area, so that we will not have overlapping or short-changing orders. Like in the issue of anchor borrowers, we realized that there are some states who are not even farming rice, but they went and collect the money for farming rice. And in terms of cassava, there are some states who doesn't have that land to cultivate cassava, but they went and collect money for cassava. How will that work? So what we are now doing is those 1,500 plus farmers in every local government that we pick is based on the crops they are producing and based on their accessibility. If your area is not producing maize, you can't tell us that we will give you something, or we facilitate something for you to produce maize there. No. If your area is only producing yam, you concentrate on the yam. If your area is basically farming rice, we give you that access to the rice. But you cannot bring something out, because all things has its genealogy. Until you change that, before you will get what if you change that, you wouldn't get what you want. So the discrepancy there is some people would like to farm potato, whereas that land is not suitable for that crop. Some would like to farm rice there, whereas the place there is not suitable for that. At the end of the day, they will lose all what they farm. So that is where we work with the ex-people in the local government and the local farmers. We ask them, what is the major crops that you people cultivate there? Then write it, bring the numbers of the people, and bring it to us.
All right, we've run out of time now, but it's good to hear, about citizen-driven solution approaches to things, and I hope you are successful in what you are hoping to achieve. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Aliyu.
Thank you.
All right, that's all we'll take on the program for today. Don't forget, the Polity reaches you live from Abuja every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. We will be seeing you once again tomorrow. Have a nice day. I'm Amadin Ogbewe. Bye for now.